You ready? There it goes. Okay, so well, I'm trying to in process of raise money to do the clinical studies for CVAC. We have a lot of people telling us it does amazing things, but we don't know. Maybe it's only the people that get good results that come and talk to us. That's where we have to do the placebo or at least the registries of keeping track of how it's improving. And as you probably may have been aware, about 9 months ago, there was a television news article about Johnny Rodriguez having his ALS reverse from using CVAC and a bunch of complementary uh, techniques like red light therapy, uh, electric current stimulation, and things like that. And I can talk about some of those other most modalities, but I prepared a PowerPoint presentation that I'm using with investors to obtain the funding that is needed to get the snowball rolling for what looks to be uh, a highly valuable technology. There are now 25 people at Ascent, 25 people with ALS using CVAC. And we don't, because of the laws in the United States, we don't have access to their medical records. But what we do have access to, our current pressure vessel was designed for athletes. So it's a little bit difficult for people with ALS to get in and out of. So what people are doing is observing when they use CVAC how their ability to get in and out of the pressure vessel is improving over
Yeah.
time.
Yes.
So that's creating a lot of interest because it means that it's not just delaying if it's working the way we think it does, it's not just delaying the progression of the disease, but it's reversing it. People are improving their muscle control. So I prepared this presentation that I'm using with investors to try and motivate them to fund these research studies and as it turns out in this presentation, it illustrates that ALS is a form of accelerated aging. And right now, investments, at least in the United States, these longevity clinics that are opening up, the maybe you've heard about Brian Johnson. There's a
It's
lot of
okay.
awareness
Go print.
about longevity. So I'm going to go ahead and if it's okay with you, I'm going
Yes,
to.
absolutely, Alan. But before you jump into that, I'm not so sure because I haven't seen the presentation, but maybe is there a background there? Can you tell us how SIVA came to your life and a little bit, just
Oh,
very briefly? So we have, like Tabitha was saying, there's people from all over. Some people are aware what the CVAC is and what you do and everything. And we have had excellent commentaries really in the group when we started announcing this interview with you. Even inclusive, there was one lady talking about how her husband exactly was exactly doing that, was able to get out and stand up much easier, much in a much easier way
right.
after using the CVAC. So if that is included in your presentation, please omit my commentary.
Yes, it is in terms of what it is and how we think it works and thing that's included in that. Uh,
Okay.
but if you want to, but it does, I don't talk about myself. So a little bit about me.
Yes.
I graduated from one of the top engineering schools in the country in electrical engineering. I went to work for General Electric Medical Systems. I was there for 11 years. In that process, it turns out I'm one of the inventors of the GE MRI system, and we ended up getting 80% market share because of the strategy that I pursued. I like to think in my mind that it was my idea of synchronizing MRI scanners to the power line that solved a lot of the problems. So I was at GE for 11 years, and then I went to Silicon Valley. I had a lot of job offers when I left GE. And one of the companies was the first surgical laser company that was a successful IPO. And then I went to work with the first open MRI technology out of Stanford University. We sold that business to General Electric. And then I was involved with the first CT scanner for the heart, and we sold that company to GE for 200 million. So I was in my 40s, and what I do is way too much fun. I'll never retire. And so I had money, and I was young, and I felt I had a purpose in life. Like, why did all these things happen to me? Why was I given these gifts? And I
Mhm.
had started dating a woman who had fibromyalgia, Sjogren's syndrome, and she had chronic dry eye. She had lost her driver's license. She had lost her job. There were days she couldn't get out of bed. We went. She went through multiple surgeries. Nothing was working. So I was invited to a meeting to invest in this new technology, and I was looking for new technologies to invest in. So I met the inventor and the management staff of that company at that time. And to be honest, I thought it was a scam. It just sounds
Too
too
good.
ridiculous that something so simple could be so effective, and it sounds crazy that something so effective could be
Rzucił to.
safe. That's just not the way, pharmaceuticals work. It's not the way a lot of things work. But the inventor seemed sincere. He was a respiratory therapist, and he had already spent decades on the research behind this technology. And so I gave them some advice. I said, number one, don't talk to an entrepreneur like me until after you've filed a patent. And for all these claims you make that you make about it, go get some data, some scientific data. So that was 21 years and $27 million ago. And the biggest challenge was developing the technology, because when I met Carl, he was essentially using the pressure vessel to play the human body like a musical instrument.
Wow.
And if you can imagine, he estimated it would take 12 years to teach someone else to do what he was doing manually. Carl is a composer, and he's a musician. He plays many instruments. And so, it was clear that we had to automate the process so that anybody could use it. And so it wouldn't take, decades to teach people how to utilize this technique. So that's where we are now. We've built about 80 of these systems. We have 30 of them, more than 30 of them in like doctors' offices, wellness centers. There's some of them in the quote unquote the biohacking facilities and these longevity clinics.
Yeah.
And the anecdotal results we're hearing from people are just uh, astounding. And they're also what we expect. One of the things we did is we funded the Stanford Center on Longevity at Stanford University to conduct a blinded placebo-controlled study on basically the aging process using the oral glucose tolerance test as the biomarker for aging, because as people get older, their glucose metabolism degrades. And so we funded that study. It was published. I personally was not convinced CVAC worked until I saw the data from that study, because it was blinded, placebo controlled. One of the things about placebos is placebo can be 90% effective. If people believe they are getting healthier or they're doing something to get healthier, the human body has the ability to heal itself that way based on that belief. So that's why meditation is powerful, and a lot of belief systems are powerful. So that's why we did the placebo-controlled studies to say, well, is there something really going on here, or is it just people feeling good? And maybe only the people who get better come in and tell us about it. Okay, so that's why we have to do the studies. And it was phenomenally successful. These were middle-aged men between 40 and 60 who got less than 3 hours of exercise a week, like 80% of the population. And they used CVAC for 40 minutes, 3 times a week for 10 weeks. And at the beginning of the study, they were all pre-diabetic and didn't know it. The placebo group continued to progress toward diabetes. The actively treated group reversed their pre-diabetes, and they biologically, using the oral glucose tolerance test, biologically they became more than 15 years younger
Wow.
using glucose tolerance tests. So and then we we we've had we had like 3 people with ALS report improvements, but the clinics that had the improvement, they wanted to keep it secret. They wanted to be the only clinic on earth that could reverse ALS. And in North America, there's a clinic here that uh, charges people $100,000 for a 3 month treatment program. So it can be very lucrative, whether or not it's real or unreal or a scam. That's why we need to do the studies. And so I'm really happy at this point because we have about maybe 8 of our customers that are reporting reversals of ALS. Ascent is has the most of them, and they were featured in the ABC 7 news article. And they have a wealthy person, they claim, from who lives in Monaco, who's funding the research. And they also have another organization called Augie's Quest that's raised over $1 million that can get access to the scientific data, and hopefully they're going to publish the study on this. So that hopefully in less than a year we'll have data on at least 25 people. But I can share with you what we have now, and I'm trying to accelerate this research with this PowerPoint presentation.
Okay.
All right.
All
Excellent.
right.
So let's
Excellent.
let's give you the power to share.
Okay.
No, I think
Uh,
he can ask. Just try to share and I allow you here, Alan.
Okay, where is the share? Oh, there it is. There's the share thing. Send requests. Okay, I sent the request.
Yes, and I said that you can. I allow it.
Okay. Uh, all right, can you see my slide deck?
no, not
No.
yet.
No,
Can you
okay.
try again? Try to share again.
Try again. Oh, there it goes. How about now?
It seemed yes. Yes. And
O-
maybe you can make it a little bigger. There is perfect.
Okay.
Perfect.
So
Yeah.
so this is the slide deck that I used at the JP Morgan Healthcare Conference and at the Consumer Electronics Show. And you might ask, well, why the Consumer Electronics Show? As it turns out, the Consumer Electronics Show is turning out to be the largest medical conference in the world, and I'll explain why is through this investment. But right now, longevity investments are very hot topics. I think investors are having an artificial intelligence hangover, so to speak. And so they're looking for things, and there are a lot of these longevity clinics getting started in the United States, and they people are charging between 30,000 a year and as much as $250,000 a year to be in these longevity programs. So this can help understand why there's so much interest. Back when Larry Ellison when he is soon after he became one of the richest men in the world. He was the CEO and founder of Oracle. He's worth something like 80 or 100 billion dollars. He funded research in the Ellison Medical Foundation to understand what causes the aging process and age-related diseases. And back in 2006, there was a consensus that developed that these age-related diseases are caused by the accumulation of these toxic metabolic waste products called advanced glycation end products. They accumulate in the cells and between the cells, and if you've ever heard of senescent cells, they are what cause cells to become senescent. A senescent cell has lost its ability to function, but it's not dead. It it doesn't die. It's still there, but it can't function anymore. And these advanced glycation end products are something that we experience quite often in our lives. They come from the burning of fat and sugar. That's what our bodies use for energy, is we burn fat and sugar. And um, the when you burn fat and sugar, it's like when you grill food. When you put food on a grill, you know that brown stuff that tastes really good? Those are advanced glycation end products. Okay. Then Larry Ellison, they were funding the research. There was a consensus that if we can find that they can find a drug to stop them from getting produced or to flush them out of the body, that would be the solution for diabetes and heart disease and Alzheimer's disease and arthritis and all these age-related diseases. But they discovered that if they try to come up with a molecule that stops it, it stops metabolism. So the yeast, the worms, the mice, they all die when they come up with these drugs, and they haven't found a drug to get them out of the body. The Google founders started a company called Coleco that they funded to $3 billion, again looking for a drug. And Jeff Bezos, from um, the founder of Amazon, he and his friends invested $3.5 billion in Altos Labs. And at about that same time they invested it, we began hearing about senescent cells, and it sounded like they were on a path to come up with a drug that would kill senescent cells. Recently, in the last few months, there's evidence emerging that that technique's not going to work either. So people have been looking for a drug. None have been found yet. There are a lot of people that claim that they have the solution. These NAD plus supplements, NMN, plasmapheresis, where they clean the blood. People are making a lot of money with these techniques, but they're not adequately proven. So the current view is these advanced glycation end products are natural waste products from healthy metabolism. They are the cause of oxidative stress, inflammation. It's the oxidative stress that causes wrinkles in your skin. They result in telomere shortening, though I can take a few days and explain what that means. But basically, that's associated with the aging process. There was a company 35 years ago called Geron that spent billions and billions of dollars trying to find ways to make telomeres longer, and they did, and it caused cancer. So they became a cancer company. So these metabolic waste products, these ages, they disrupt the ability of cells to talk to each other, and they disrupt the function of cellular membranes. So the human body has a sewage system to flush these toxins out of the body called the lymphatic systems and the glymphatic system in the brain. And it is just as extensive as the cardiovascular system. You don't hear much about it because there hasn't been a drug that's come about that can help stimulate the flow of lymphatic system. But if you're aware of massage stimulates the lymphatic system. The exercise stimulates the lymphatic system, especially yoga. Yoga is one of the best exercises there is, and it works by stimulating the lymphatic system. And now in our current cultures where we people have jobs where they sit in chairs all day, the lymphatic system is stagnant. It's like having a house where the sewer pipe is plugged up and the toilet's overflowing. And trying to find a drug for that problem is like walking into the bathroom and spraying perfume. None of the drugs have worked. Our technology is like grabbing a plunger and opening up the pipe. So, after these decades and many billions of dollars of research, the only proven technique for removing these or associated with these advanced glycation are lifestyle changes, proper diet and exercise. If people eat processed sugar, it makes these waste products at an accelerated rate. If people don't get enough exercise, the lymphatic system is stagnant, so they don't get flushed out of the body. So you're probably hearing good results about ketogenic diets and avoiding processed foods. There's a company here in the US called Virta Health that has been successful reversing diabetes with the ketogenic diet. These new class of weight loss drugs essentially cause calorie restriction, which is also associated with reversing diabetes. And this is why intermittent fasting is useful because you don't make these waste products at an accelerated rate. Now, we're also seeing an explosion of these wearable monitors, the Apple Watch, the Whoop, and the Aura Ring, and all the different copycats from these. And they are very good at measuring heart rate variability. And this is the big thing that's developing and why CES is becoming one of the biggest medical conferences in the world is the ability to quantify how much time people spend in deep sleep versus REM sleep and how long it takes them to get into those different uh, stages of sleep. 2 years ago, cost $1,000 a night to get one night of sleep information. And now with the Aura Ring and perhaps the Whoop, but particularly the Aura Ring, it's now $6 a month. The medical community still considers these wearables toys. They aren't paying attention to the validation. The Aura Ring, they with their version 4 Aura Ring that just came out a few months ago, uh, the accuracy at in a sleep lab at 1,000 a night, they have two operators that observe the person. They use EKG or EEG information, EKG, they measure all kinds of stuff. But the agreement between the two operators of how much time somebody's in deep sleep versus REM sleep versus light sleep is only 83%. The Aura Ring has been validated that it is 79% accurate, and it may be more accurate for repeated measurements, especially for spotting trends. So for decades, people have used our device. They've come in and they use it once, they come back the next day and they say, I was able to sleep better. And however, that's a very expensive study to do. Then when the Apple Watch came out and the Fitbit came out, people were coming back and telling us how much time they were spending in deep sleep and how that's improved. And now with the Aura Ring, it's even more powerful because that's really been a focus of the Aura Ring. And because it's much more convenient to sleep with a ring on than the than a watch. And also, the ring collects data from the underside of the finger, where it's closer to the blood vessels, where in the wrist, if you're wearing a wristwatch, it's collecting the data from the top of the wrist. It would be much more accurate if it collected it closer to the blood vessels. So that might be one of the reasons why the Oura Ring is more accurate. And when I was on this trip at the JP Morgan Healthcare Conference and the Consumer Electronics Show, at least 9 out of 10 people that I spoke with already knew that inadequate deep sleep was associated with the development of dementia, Alzheimer's disease. And we put a lot of effort into the scientific studies to show that the CVAC technology could reverse diabetes and heart disease. People didn't seem to be very interested because the mantra from the American Diabetes Association is don't worry about diabetes, take your drugs, you'll be okay. Well, that's not really the case. But people aren't afraid of diabetes like they are Alzheimer's disease. Excuse me. People are terrified of Alzheimer's disease, especially if they've seen their parents, aunts, uncles, other people they know develop Alzheimer's disease. They lose who they are. So here is the latest new entrant in this longevity anti-aging technique. This is a company called TELUS. TELUS is an wireless internet provider. They're like Verizon in the United States. They basically provide internet service for cell phones and things like that. They purchased a company called LifeWorks for 2.3 billion Canadian dollars, which is about 2 billion US dollars. LifeWorks is in the business of employee wellness. If you've heard of these, like mental health programs that companies provide, employee assistance programs, uh, LifeWorks provided that. They are in 160 countries, and they provide services to 50 million people. And they are expanding from mental health to all health for an individual. And they are deploying the next generation of pressure cycling. And this is our product. They have our product. And of all the technologies they've had, they're promoting our technology. So they are established in employee wellness programs. So what is this device? It is not a hyperbaric chamber. It's actually the opposite. It's a vacuum chamber. And the researchers we work with at the Mayo Clinic have told us it's the next generation of these pressure cycling technologies. We've discovered that we believe that vacuum is much more powerful than high pressure. And it may be that that's how hyperbaric chambers work, is by the change in pressure and the rate of pressure change as opposed to causing oxygen to be dissolved in the blood. So, um, so this is a new concept. So essentially, the way this works through the vacuum chamber is by using a vacuum, we draw these toxic fluids out of the cells into the lymphatic capillaries. We then cycle the pressure 200 to 500 times in a 20-minute treatment to stimulate the flow of the lymphatic system to flush these things out of the body. And as it turns out, it works almost exactly the same way as exercise does, especially high intensity interval training, which is one of the best exercises that can be done for health. Okay. So in terms of ALS, this is a paper that was published in 1998 where these advanced glycation end products accumulate in the nerves of people with ALS. So this literally makes ALS a form of accelerated aging. And what I'm trying to talk to these longevity clinics about is that if their technology works, they should be able to reverse ALS, like Johnny Rodriguez had his ALS reversed. And we're receiving now evidence that our technology is reversing ALS. So I'm trying to get all these longevity experts and to begin talking about doing the research that if their technology really worked, all their supplements and all these other things, they should be able to reverse ALS because there's a lot of interest and money for everybody in this. And so this is how I'm trying to get the world focused on ALS. And now recently we're seeing that the people with multi-system atrophy are also getting similar benefits. And it turns out multi-system atrophy is also associated with advanced glycation end products. In people with non-bulbar ALS, these toxins accumulate in the nerves. Okay. In people that have bulbar ALS, it's a bulbar portion of the brain where these things accumulate. In people with multi-system atrophy, it's higher up in the brain where these metabolic waste products accumulate. So you may have heard about our technology. What we discovered along the way is that athletes will do anything to improve their athletic performance, and and they're cheaper than rats and mice. And so the concept of using altitude to improve athletic performance has been around for many decades. And so this particular athlete, Novak Djokovic, was having breathing problems in 2010, and he got into the CVAC pod, and it according to this article in the Wall Street Journal, it reversed his breathing problems. And in that article, he said it's good for recovery because athletes produce these waste products at an accelerated rate because they're using so much energy. They have to recover from their competition because their bodies are loaded up with this garbage. And CVAC helps flush the garbage out of their bodies and they recover amazingly. So Novak Djokovic started using the CVAC system during the 2010 US Open, where he upset Roger Federer. And he had, according to John McEnroe, the next year the best season in the history of men's tennis. And now the Daily Mail newspaper in England has reported that he has CVAC systems in trailers that he takes to tournaments. And it became controversial because when he's losing a tournament, uh, he'll disappear for 20 minutes between sets. He comes back and he's fresh. And that's how he's been able to dominate men's tennis. He's the first man to win 24 Grand Slams. Last year, he became the oldest tennis player to win Olympic gold because his body is cleaned out. And when the body's cleaned out, the body makes more mitochondria.
So
Insulin,
one thing, and sorry to interrupt you, but it makes so much sense. Many ALS patients, they used to be athletes. They used to be high performance athletes or extreme athletes.
right?
For example, like Tabitha's dad. And as you are claiming, they are producing at a much higher rate of these waste products, which if they don't get flushed, that could be one of the main reasons or the trigger that is causing their first ALS symptoms. We hear from these very often, right? So it makes good sense to that it's working like that. So it should work with the ALS patients. We are totally sure about that.
And there's a published study that shows that athletes are at an increased risk of developing ALS. And I think
Yes.
that's because a lot of athletes, especially runners, don't do anything for active recovery. You know, what athletes should be doing is getting massages after competition to flush the garbage out of the body.
Stimulate the
CVAC,
lymphatic system.
CVAC is like a total body massage.
Right.
Yoga would be great for athletes to do. Okay, and they need to get the garbage out of those cells, otherwise the garbage stays there, and then it can cause all these terrible problems like ALS.
Absolutely.
So if we can get the world to believe that this technology is real, and I believe the reversals of ALS are overcoming the fear, or perhaps it's fear, but more it's just the skepticism that something so
Yes.
simple can be so effective, and that something that's so effective can be so safe. So because people with ALS, they don't have many options. And
No.
so and their degradation is so quickly. And one of the really amazing things I've learned that I've helped with, that has really helped me through these social media networks, is a lot of people with ALS are reporting an improvement just after the first 20-minute session. You know, I wouldn't have guessed anything like that, but it's miraculous. We saw that with people with COPD, because we believe the people with COPD, they get in the pod, and when they get in the pod, we give them a box of tissues because they get a flow of mucus out of their mouth and out of their nose. They use
Mhm.
it once, they get out and said, I can breathe for the first time in like 10 years. So so we were very much focused on COPD, but it's hard to convince the doctor that somebody that's having a difficulty breathing, we're going to put them in a chamber and take out some of the air.
Yes.
Okay. It's hard to get a doctor to agree to that. However, when people go with ALS go to their doctors, the doctors say, well, there's nothing I can do for you. So that gives the people with ALS the opportunity to try all these new things. And
Absolutely.
what's outstanding are these social media networks where people are trying these things and then reporting to other people about what their results are. So this is really, I think, how we're going to get this technology available to people. So investors want to see our revenue numbers. Our revenues have been going up. They like to see that. We passed the $1 million a year revenue number that they want to see to invest in companies. Right now, I'm raising $20 million at $10 a share. So this was these are uh, audited financial statements uh, now, including the 2023 numbers. And the managers of the stock markets told me that the IPO markets were going to open up for companies like us. They didn't, and all the layoffs in the tech industry created all these fears about recessions. But now we're seeing a huge interest. I have 5 meetings next week with investment bankers who are interested in funding us. And I had a meeting at the JP Morgan Healthcare Conference with 4 very large Japanese investors. SoftBank, which is Masayoshi-san. He was the first investor in Alibaba. He invested $20 million. His profit was $56 billion from that. There were the venture capital arms of NGK that makes spark plugs in Japan. They know their business is going to go away. They've got a lot of money, so they're looking for other businesses to go into. Same thing, there was a rep there from Fujitsu. There was a rep there from Sumitomo and from NEC. So the Japanese, it appears they missed out on the artificial intelligence investments, and you don't hear that much about the internet capabilities like you do with the Chinese. So, and the Japanese have this aging population, and they don't let immigrants into their country. So they're going to have a huge problem if they don't do something about the aging crisis. So our technology was originally developed with some funding from the U.S. military. They funded the University of Hawaii to do a validation study in elite athletes. The data from there showed that it increased the oxygen carrying capacity of the blood in elite athletes by about 9%, and it increased VO2 max, which is like a measurement of the horsepower of the human body. It's maximum oxygen uptake at maximum exercise, increased by more than 5%. That is more than double what occurs with EPO doping. And in the Stanford replicated that work, and they showed a 20% increase in peak power and strength this was for elite athletes. This much of an improvement in elite athletes is just outstanding. It's why Novak Djokovic has been able to dominate men's tennis for the last 14 years. We're also getting reports from some of our research sites, especially Cedars-Sinai in Los Angeles, that they're seeing great results with long COVID. It's helping people with brain fog, improving their sleep. And what's really exciting is postural orthostatic tachycardia. One of the complications of COVID and the vaccine is when people get out of chairs from sitting or get out of bed, the heart races and they get dizzy. It's kind of like the opposite um, well, the symptoms are the same, but the mechanism that causes the dizziness with MSA is kind of the opposite. With MSA, the heart doesn't pump as hard, so their blood pressure drops. With long COVID, the heart pumps too fast, so it doesn't pump as much blood because it's pumping too fast. We're chronic pain. We even have a study published in chronic pain and fatigue. In that study, half the people had fibromyalgia. But this is all interesting, but people still are skeptical because over time people get better with long COVID. How do we know it was the technique? Well, generally with ALS, people don't get better. So by improving the lives of people with ALS, it overcomes the skepticism, especially for the people who who have ALS and for their caregivers. Here's an example of what our technology does, particularly in the anti-aging world. This is Mary Cooper. She's the mother of one of our employees, and she's the mother of Susan Cooper. Susan Cooper used CVAC and became a world champion cyclist as a result. Her mother was in hospice care. She was dying. And so Susan brought her out to California to say goodbye to her. And the first night at home, Susan had to get up 4 times to help her mother get to the bathroom because she couldn't get to the bathroom on her own. On her own power, she needed help. So Susan put her in the CVAC pod. The statement we get from elderly people as well, it makes the athlete stronger. Maybe it'll make me stronger. And the results are just incredible like this. So this like a year and a half later, she lost 70 pounds. Sure, it reversed her COPD and her heart failure. And she's at home and she can, as I say, she can now ride a bicycle to the bathroom. We have about 30 clinics. Ascent is our premier customer here they're in Southern California. They're the ones that started the process of reversing ALS, and most importantly, they aren't keeping the results secret. Johnny Rodriguez isn't keeping it secret, where a lot of our customers see these amazing results, but they want to get the credit not the CVAC system. So and Eighth Element similarly is not keeping it secret. Loka High in Australia isn't keeping it secret. Mahan Rehab, they're getting great results with ALS. And so Vibrance is getting excellent results with ALS. Altitude Performance is one of our most successful customers. Like Ascent, they have 3 CVAC systems, and they're like fully booked. Here's another example. This was an individual who got in the pod because of recommendations from the University of California, San Diego. She had intense pain and inability to control her weight. She had brain fog, and she used CVAC after 18 months. She had elimination of her pain, her weight loss, and her brain function improved. So people want to see, well, what's the comparison with this versus hyperbaric oxygen? And typically, hyperbaric oxygen is 90 minutes session time. Our treatments are typically 20 to 40 minutes. Using quantitative EEG, we're seeing brain benefits in exposures as short as 5 minutes. There have been 80 reported deaths with HBOT, and that has really limited their growth. I can talk a lot about that. We have more than 500,000 documented CVAC sessions with 0 significant adverse events. One of the things that you have to be cautious about with high pressure oxygen is it produces oxidative hyperoxic side effects. And that has been another thing that has held hyperbaric oxygen back, because one of those side effects can be blindness. So one of the main reasons we believe CVAC is much more effective than HBOT is we believe hyperbaric, using higher pressure, closes the one-way check valves. Using a vacuum opens the one-way check valve to pull this garbage out of the body. So I can talk a lot about this. Right now, it looks like the ALS study has been funded, and with the longevity focus, I think they're going to get a lot more funding from wealthy people. So, so much of the money that we're raising right now to attract investors is in
I love you, Monica. I love you. I love you, Monica. I love you.
Okay. Much of this is for improving chronic obstructive pulmonary disease and heart failure. The results we're seeing in COPD are amazing. Our doctors who are using CVAC to treat heart failure are telling us they have people on the transplant list, and they're waiting for a heart to become available. They start using CVAC, and their hearts after like 3 to 6 months return to normal. Now, one of the reasons we've chosen those conditions is there are a lot of people that have them, which is appealing to investors. They're also very, very expensive conditions. They both result in emergency room visits and stays in the hospital that are very, very expensive. And people know about them. So it's easier to attract investors that way. However, the longevity thing may be how we get investors into ALS. So the fundamental problem we're solving is 80% of the population doesn't get enough exercise, contributing to insulin resistance epidemics of diabetes, heart disease, Alzheimer's, even cancer. And insulin resistance, of course, is associated with ALS because people with ALS can't exercise adequately. So in terms of the future, when you talk to these investors, like what's the future to invest in? Artificial intelligence. Well, a lot of the artificial intelligence investments are focused at diet and exercise. So, and now with the Chinese coming up with their deep artificial intelligence, there may be a window here to get the research funded. So, and we have our own attraction for artificial intelligence. We have more than 100 different pressure profiles that are tailor-made for an individual. We believe we'll be able to, and other people will be able to use digital health data, like from the Oura Ring and the Whoop Watch and the Apple Watch, to determine what is the best profile for that person at that specific moment. And there are excellent non-invasive measurements to show the improvement, particularly bioimpedance phase angle has been very well validated for measuring the integrity of cell membranes. And the ALS people at Ascent are using the latest bioimpedance phase angle measurements to track their progress. What I like to show investors is using comparative models, this company can be worth more than $1 billion. And people often ask, what does it feel like? Well, this was my experience, and a lot of people say the same thing. I used it once. I didn't feel any different after I used it, but the next morning, it's like someone cleaned the windshield on my brain. And I've spent the last 21 years trying to figure out why. And we think we finally know it's because when you inhale, it creates a vacuum in the lungs, and that pulls the cerebral spinal fluid through the brain and through the nervous system. So the process of breathing heavy, creating a deeper vacuum, pulls the garbage out of the brain and out of the nerves. It's kind of that simple. So that's my presentation.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So I think there must be a lot of questions and commentaries. Tabitha, there is one question. I think, Ariela, you can open your microphone, Ariela, and you can speak if you wish.
Okay. Yes, good evening. I would like to ask something. My sister is suffering from ALS, but she's on connected to a tracheostomy, to a breathing machine. First of all, we are in Israel. Is this technology going to get to us, or is it will be possible for people connected to breathing machine?
Well, it depends on the type of ventilator the person's on. If it's a volume focused ventilator, then they can do well. The ventilator needs to go into the pressure vessel with them.
Mhm.
If it's a pressure activated ventilator, then that's not appropriate for CVAC. The ventilator will.
Can you explain again?
Pardon?
Can you say it again, please?
Yeah, well, if it's a volume driven ventilator that measures the volume of the
Yeah.
air going in and out,
Yes.
then it will work. But the inventor of this technology is a respiratory therapist. He will want to know the brand and the model of the ventilator to see if it's okay to use in the CVAC. Now, some ventilators work by measuring pressure in the lungs. That's not going to work with CVAC because CVAC changes the pressure. But the ventilator that measures the volume of air going in and coming out will work okay inside the pressure vessel. And just Friday, I received an inquiry from Tel Aviv of someone who claims that they're interested in opening up a clinic with our technology in Tel Aviv. But
Oh, good.
at this point, we don't have any in Israel. The closest CVAC system to you is in the Royal Palace in Abu Dhabi.
Yes.
It's not open to the public, I don't think. But
No,
those are
inshallah.
really good people there. So I'm trying to convince the sheikh there to, and I think we got close because when Bennett was the prime minister of Israel, all of a sudden peace started breaking out and it was being driven by the royal family of the UAE that have our system there. And they were planning on implementing our system all over the Mideast and all over the world. They have the money to do that. And then I think the Houthis in Yemen didn't like that idea of peace breaking out. And that spiraled into the current wars that are going on.
Alan, one question regarding what Dariela is asking. So in generally, you usually say that anybody who can fly on a normal airplane will be
Right.
able to get into the CVAC pod. So that
Right.
means even a patient with ALS with a machine, if he's able to fly, right, he's able to go into the pod in it.
Right, right. But we still want to know the brand and model of the
Of
ventilator
course,
go in there.
of
Okay.
course.
So where is the closest? Not in Abu Dhabi, in Europe, or in some place.
Uh, well, let's see. We have one in Melbourne, Australia, in a wellness.
30 hours flying.
Right. We have several of them in Florida,
Mhm.
in the United States, and you know we right now we don't have any in Europe, and I think we're hopefully we have a lot of interest from my travels for London,
I see.
and I got an inquiry from Tel Aviv on Friday. Now, something that should be understood is in the United States, the government healthcare system, Medicare, is paying for CVAC treatments at about $30 for a 15-minute treatment in a physical therapy clinic. So one of the recent orders that we received is from a family of someone who has ALS, and his family and his neighbors have purchased the CVAC system, and we're in the process of building it right now. They're going to install it into a physical therapy clinic. So for them, it's an investment because they'll be able to make money when people in the physical therapy clinic use it. They'll share the reimbursement. And typically athletes will pay $1,000 a month to sit in the pod for 40 minutes a day because it improves their performance. It's much less expensive than doping. The cost of EPO doping is $136,000 per athlete per year. CVAC is more effective. And the lease cost in the United States, anyway, the lease cost is about $3,500 a month. So
Of the
each one of
CVAC,
these machines can generate $10,000 a month in revenue if you keep it busy. And you'd only need like 3 or 4 athletes using it to pay the monthly cost.
Right.
And a lot of the physical therapy clinics also take care of athletes, so that there's a way to get people there. And then as athletes begin to realize that this is the best thing for recovery, and it just might be the best thing for preventing ALS. The
and is it
athletes don't.
possible?
Athletes,
Is
go ahead.
it possible? Is it possible in this situation of my sister that she's fully paralyzed and connected to a breathing machine? It can improve her ALS, you think?
Well, we don't know. We don't know for sure until we get more data from them. But one of the things when we were doing the research for this at Stanford University, it was actually the surgeons that were very excited by the technology because they said when they do surgery on a person, they then have to lay in bed for 2 weeks. And the process of laying in bed for 2 weeks is more damaging to the body than the surgery was. So I've been intensely researching ALS for the last 9 months. And it seems to me when people get to the point where they can't move, then that's when they really go on that downward spiral because they can't stimulate their lymphatic system. So it's very likely it would help your system, your sister. But, until we do the blinded placebo-controlled studies, we don't know for sure. So,
Okay.
Right.
So we have, I think, Robert.
Robert
He
Figueiredo
raised
has a
his
question.
hand.
You can open
Go
your mic,
ahead.
Robert.
Can you hear me?
yes.
Yes.
Dr. Allen. I have ALS. So far, it's affecting both of my arms, and I cannot raise my arm. So those are the things that I have. But I can walk, I can breathe, everything else. I live in Florida, and I was searching, and I see a physical therapy company that do have your machine here. I just wanted to confirm that they are part of your system. I live in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and the company name is the Biohack Lab. They claim that they are doing part of they have your machine.
Was that the Biohack Lab in Fort Lauderdale?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, they have one of our systems. It's the Biohack Lab in Fort Lauderdale. It's
Yeah.
it's by the airport.
Okay. So
I think it may be nearby the convention center.
yes, I don't live too far from there, so I would like to go there and start with the therapy. But
And
I also heard that you said that it's covered for Medicare. I have Medicare that is through that.
yeah, in a physical therapy clinic. I don't know if the Biohack Lab is a physical therapy clinic. A lot of our systems are installed in physical therapy clinics. In order to get reimbursed, the bill has to come from a physical therapist.
Okay.
And the Biohack Lab is a biohacking facility, and they may or may not have physical therapists. The like TELUS, which is a very very large company, they have the CVAC system, but they also have a lot of physical therapists there because in the world of anti-aging, when people develop, shoulder problems or hip problems, they can't exercise. And a lot of those things can be improved with physical therapy. So physical therapy is a great complement to the CVAC systems. And one of the things we've learned in the physical therapy environment is after people have like shoulder surgery, hip surgery, knee surgery, they are referred by the surgeon to a physical therapist. And the physical therapists that have the CVAC systems, they'll use manual manipulation to improve the range of motion, and to release the adhesions. And when they do that, the person's in a lot of pain afterwards.
Yeah.
And then they put them in the CVAC pod, and the pain goes away.
Wow.
We believe we understand specifically how that happens. It's related to like when your bladder's full and the cells get stretched, releases ATP, and it's ATP that activates the receptors on the nerve cells that cause pain. That way you got injured. So by putting people in the pod, it stimulates the lymphatic system and flushes the ATP out, so the pain goes away. So then the patients go back to the surgeon with their bottle of pills and say, I didn't need these opioid painkillers. And the surgeons love it because the surgeons have been blamed for creating the opioid epidemic,
Yeah.
as part of surgery. So anything that can be done to reduce the need for pain medication is now a high priority, especially for surgeons. So in the United States, the billing to Medicare or Medicaid or however it is has to come from a physical therapist. And physical therapists, they already get reimbursement and approval for using physical therapy on people with ALS.
Yeah. I use
And
this therapy, and they get me. Bro, it's different than the one that you're providing. So I will
yeah,
have to go there and find it out. If it
Right.
was,
Or, it would be really cool if you could get your physical therapist to go visit um, the biohacking facility and go into a partnership with them, then they could get reimbursed. I believe that particular site is getting a lot of people with ALS showing up there.
I will go there, find it out.
Yeah, they're in the last few months, their utilization has really increased.
Looking forward for the whole the work.
Okay, I'm not sure I caught all that.
I just said thank you. I'm looking forward
Oh,
for the try
yeah,
the other.
yeah, and I'd love to hear how it goes,
I
there.
got I make a screenshot of your presentation. So I got your email and
Yeah,
I can send it.
you can have my presentation. That's available. Peter can send it to everyone.
I can track or update with you with my progress.
I didn't catch all that, so
I can update you with my progress in the future.
well, that would be wonderful because we're trying to sort this out ourselves, and it doesn't look that way, but when you develop new technology and people use it, yeah, one of the things that we're afraid of is people only tell us about the good news. Okay, so that's why you have to do these, well,
Trial, whatever.
these trials. Now, the US FDA has told us that we do not need to do phase 3 studies. In other words, we can market this product for these conditions, and especially we can make the claim that it improves fitness. If all we're doing is improving fitness of people with ALS, that's a wonderful claim.
Yes.
We don't have to
Absolutely.
we don't have to claim that it's reversing ALS, which
No.
when you say you're reversing a disease, then the research you have to do is much higher. But if you're saying that you're improving fitness of an individual, improving strength and endurance of people, that's not regulated. So that's what the FDA prefers that we do. Because if we were regulated as a device that reverses disease, it would probably cost 3 times as much because you have to have inspectors come into your facility and what the FDA has done is we have a good track record with the FDA. They come in and inspect our customer sites, and we've never gotten a notice of adverse finding. They're very happy when I met with them that we limit the claims to improving fitness because it would be it's expensive for them to regulate a technology, and that cost gets passed on to people. And this technology is so safe. The active mechanism being high altitude has been studied for over 100 years. People going up to Mount Everest. I mean, we know the death zone at Mount Everest is above 25,000 feet. So we have triple redundant hardwired safety mechanisms to make sure it doesn't go over 24,000 feet. So we can provide that kind of safety assurance. And what we do is the FDA said that they would like to see, not required, but they would like to see what they call phase 4 data, which is a registry where you keep track of who uses it and what the outcomes are. You don't have to do blinded placebo-controlled studies. And that's what we're doing. Everyone that uses CVAC is in a phase 4 study. That's how we know that we've conducted more than 500,000 sessions with zero significant adverse events.
Yeah, and I think by claiming that you are improving performance and helping in improving also the recuperation time from injuries and games or any activity, you are not actually stepping in anybody's toes, which we know from other ventures. Unfortunately, whenever you claim that something is being cured, that's like a no-no, right? So I
Right,
think
right,
it's all the right boxes, the CVAC, because it's not going to, at least for now, I guess, right? Until they get maybe smarter, I don't know, or even dumber. Let's see. But I think it's fantastic because you're actually that's what you're doing in what you're saying. If an ALS patient can claim, listen, I'm improving my movements, I'm improving my sleep. That's a big thing. That's a very big claim.
right.
Excellent. I think there was somebody else who wanted to ask a question, and there are some questions
It's on the
in,
chat.
in the chat. Yes. Let's see now. Thank you for sharing. Any upgraded versions in the future? I think you keep up all the time, eh?
Yeah, we're right now in process of implementing upgrades to our system where we have a new software computer system that's in beta test at some of our customer sites. We just developed a new set of molds for the pressure vessel, and we got the first two sets of composites out of those molds. One of them is going to be going to Rochester, Minnesota. The other one's going to be going to Calgary, Canada, and we're really happy with the quality of the composite materials that are coming out. We have some very extensive upgrade plans, and what we're doing is we're implementing the hardware changes in the system, and then we'll be able to upgrade the software without having to swap out the hardware. And so we'll be able to come up with continuous upgrades as systems come along. Some of the upgrades may require new hardware. For example, for Alzheimer's disease, we want to come up with a device with a technology that people can sleep in. And we can get into the science behind that, but we think we can have a dramatic improvement in people with Alzheimer's disease if they can sleep in the pod. And
Interesting.
one of the pressure vessels that we want to come up with for people with ALS and various conditions, we want one that we can roll a wheelchair into without having to lift people up and put them in the pod. But that's going to be about a $5 million development to be
I
able
can
to.
imagine the prototype will be quite
Yeah,
it's a new design totally, right?
right. It'll be a completely new design. The current pressure vessel was designed for athletes. So if the ALS opportunity develops like we think it will, and we also get amazing results with people that are quadriplegics. And what we found with quadriplegics and other people that are wheelchair bound, they don't want to be a burden to their families. So it's a lot simpler to logistically provide CVAC sessions if we can just wheel the wheelchair into it. So that'll be an upgrade, but that's like 5 or 10 years away.
Okay, let's hope less than that. In any case, there's one person here says, I have a ventilation machine, Trilogy 100. I think that's one of the volume
Yeah,
type
this
of
volume is the same one that my dad uses.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, if I can get I'll have to have Carl Linton take a look at that.
It's
Yeah, but
quite
I
a
think it's
small
volume.
machine in any case. It's not very large.
Yeah,
And
so
I think you could go into the CVAC with it.
yeah,
Uh,
Tabitha, if you can put that in an email, and I'll ask Carl Linton if he knows about that machine.
right.
That
We'll
would
do
work
that.
for the CVAC system.
Right. Okay. Sienna here, she's saying, yes, the biohack lab does have the system and it's not a physical therapy. I guess that was answering the
Yeah.
question.
Yeah,
How
so
much one CVAC system cost and what is the cost of ownership?
okay, right now people are paying us $148,000 for a CVAC system. The product life is more than 20 years, so that amortizes to $600 a month. And then the cost of ownership, basically, it runs on electricity. There's no other gases like oxygen or nitrogen or anything else that goes in there. No, we do have an air filter, but the air filters last for years unless you're in a dusty environment. If you're in a very dirty, dusty environment, then the air filter might need to be changed once a year. It's the same kind of air filter that you have on a vacuum cleaner.
So you
So,
can get that anywhere. So one of those HEPA
and
type
then
of
the
filters.
the product, the peak electricity consumption is 6 kilowatts. On average, on average, it's about 3 kilowatts. So a 20-minute session is 1 kilowatt. And so 1 kilowatt hour. So at least in the United States, that's 25 cents here in California. So
Okay.
that the cost of electricity is different from country to country. When you
Yes,
do
it is.
that calculation, they realize, oh, well, that's not very much.
Okay, so how much one session, says Valentina? I think that depends on every, but in average, what do you have as a price in the
Yeah.
different places that you have
Yeah,
it?
most people are charging between $30 and $50 for a 20-minute session. Medicare is reimbursing at $30 for a 15-minute session.
I see. Valentina has shared her email, so we can share the presentation with her.
Yeah, okay. Are you going to send that to her, or should I?
We could,
You can
Tabitha,
send it.
we can
Mhm.
send it, take a note of the email.
Yes, I have
Um,
the chat keeps safe in my computer, so it's fine.
Fantastic. So Laura Cozzarelli, I have severe ME/CFS, chronic fatigue syndrome, kind of like a long COVID. I'm in New Jersey. Any chance I can get Medicare to pay for sessions? How expensive is a CVAC machine? We answered that.
Okay. Well, it really if it's in a physical therapy clinic, I'm trying to think. The closest system to you is in Southold, New York. There's another one in a physical therapy clinic in Asheville, North Carolina. That might be closer to New Jersey. Then there's another clinic in Exeter, New Hampshire. It's a naturopathic clinic. We have, yeah, so the one in Asheville, North Carolina is a physical therapy clinic, but I don't know that they're approaching Medicare for reimbursement. The
Oh, we can
reimbursement,
ask, I think Wilson is attending that one. I'm not sure. Wilson Figueiredo he's in the meeting here.
yeah,
Uh,
the
Wilson
med,
is opening his mic, yeah.
yeah, the Medicare reimbursement is being done in Dixon, California. We have a lot of systems in California, especially Southern California in Orange County. We have them in we have two of them in Northern California as well. One on California Avenue in Palo Alto. The other one is in Dixon, California. The one in Palo Alto is a neurodynamic center with a neuropsychologist, and the system in Dixon is with a physical therapist.
Okay,
Uh,
Wilson is here. That's so cool. He's
Wilson,
Brazilian and he was using CVAC.
yeah, he's Wilson. Can you open? Hola.
Hey,
Hello,
Wilson,
everybody. Hello, Alan. How are you, my friend?
you're doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Better every
Great.
day. Yeah, I'm the one that tried a lot the CVAC. I've been going to Asheville. It's called Eighth Element, the clinic. Unfortunately, it's not a quick trip for me. It's over 2 hours and 20 minutes. So for the last probably 2 months, I've not been able to go frequently as I used to go. But the time I went is over pretty much 2 months in a row, 2 sessions per week. I really enjoyed a lot. And together with this, I have to tell that I did a keto diet And I really think that combined really, really helped me a lot, a lot. And I'm waiting to be able to go again, often again.
Right.
So just
That's
my testimony here, guys.
excellent. Now,
Thank
for
you
those of
so
you who
much.
don't know, Wilson has ALS, but he's one of our reversal. Let's say I say our because I'm so happy, But Wilson is reversing symptoms, right, Wilson? And
Yeah,
He's
I
he's
never,
doing
I
better
never, I never
every day.
say that I have AOS. I say that I got this diagnosis, because it's
Yeah.
so complex and stuff. But yes, I'm a SOD1. I did the test and it was confirmed the SOD1. I'm taking tofersen for now. Probably I'm on the 15th dose. I really think it's helping as well, but it's hard to judge. But with the drug, but the diet, when I did it, it was together with the CVAC. I really think that it's something that will be beneficial for us 100%.
Yeah, we
Thank you.
suspect that using CVAC in combination with tofersen will make it even better.
Awesome.
The CVAC sessions may help get the drugs into the nerve cells more effectively.
Perfect.
I'm sure there are lots of hidden benefits that we don't even know because what we do know from ALS is that ALS is not, you can't do just one thing and one thing is going to take care of it. I think it's a combination of things
Right.
that need to be taken care of. We know that we talk about it all the time, diet, supplementations, but getting rid of toxins, I think is one of the biggest issues that we normally discuss, that it's key, because if your body is full of toxins and if you don't clean your environment as well, the toxins keep coming in and you don't have a way of get them out, then you have a big problem. So yeah, I
Like a
think
car, you got to keep the oil clean, you got to keep the air clean, and you have to have good quality gasoline, fuel going in.
yeah,
So
exactly.
you need the proper diet, and you need CVAC, and if you can, exercise. You should still do exercise.
Yes, you were
Okay.
you were telling me about that, Alan. So that's, can you tell us a little bit, maybe briefly, about that? Now, what does not the CVAC do?
Well, what I do based, I've been researching this technology for 21 years and everything, and I've just been astounded of how important exercise is. Now, what I do myself personally, I'll spend an hour or two a day in the CVAC pod doing my email and working, but I still go to the gym to lift weights. Now, I I don't, like most people, I don't exercise to the point of being breathless, which is what you need, because I think that's where CVAC that's the kind of exercise that CVAC really helps with. And I've had endocrinologists claim that CVAC will prevent bone loss and osteoporosis and maintain healthy joints. The endocrinologists tell me that, and I go, okay, so where's the proof? And they go, how does it work? And they go, well, pay me $300,000 and I'll tell you. Uh, I still think that if you don't use a joint, the body's going to adapt and it will become atrophied. Even if you use CVAC, if you don't use it, you're gonna. I think there's still a problem, and that's why I'd really love to be able to get people with ALS at a point where they can move, where they can exercise, because it's going to be a long time, probably beyond my lifetime, that we know whether or not, it can compensate for not doing weight-bearing exercises. I still think, if you look at the piezoelectric nature of bone cells, yeah, CVAC probably should work for that, but I think you still have to get that function to maintain your range of motion and everything you can do. So, hopefully with this research we're doing, we'll be able to get people with ALS and these conditions at a much earlier stage. And one of the things that's very encouraging is we're now getting reports on it improving the quality of life for people with multi-system atrophy. And it may be that anytime someone has a muscle problem or a brain, and we get great results with Parkinson's disease and multiple sclerosis and just about all these neurodegenerative diseases. So if we can get to people at an earlier stage, maybe even before they're diagnosed, because it takes one of the problems with ALS is how long it takes to get a diagnosis. They have to like rule out everything else, and they say, well,
Yes.
it's not anything else, so it must be ALS. So I'd really, well, even further, I'd like to get, athletes in there for recovery to prevent ALS.
Yes. So let's try and get on this question. There is a question here. Let me see. Do you have a clinic in California? I think you do.
Yeah, we've got a bunch of them.
A
We
bunch
don't
of
have
them.
any in Chicago, though.
Not in Chicago. Eh? Copy of the meeting. No worries. We're going to be publishing this meeting in YouTube. And if YouTube should not allow us for some reason to publish, which we have had
I
that in the
didn't tell
past.
you. We didn't say anything like.
Until now, we haven't said anything, that we're going to be and we're not going to. So, but in any case, we will Vimeo for anybody who cannot. Yeah, send the record. Okay, in Chicago. Okay, what email could we send questions about the ventilator being used with work? Also, I would like to have information on this meeting if possible. That. Okay, so the ventilator.
Yeah, so Tabitha, maybe you can put that together and we'll have in an email and we'll have Carl comment on them.
Yeah, let's do that.
Let's do that.
Presentation
The-
significant with CVAC.
Yeah, the less significant events,
Yeah.
if you've ever flown on an airplane with a cold and you can't clear your ears, that's the worst thing that's ever happened. If you get in a CVAC pod and you cannot clear your ears, you have a cold, you can have what is called like a barotrauma. It's like a nosebleed, but in the middle ear. The middle ear fills up with blood, and then you can't hear out of it for 2 or 3 weeks. It happens to people on airplanes all the time. So what happens, it takes 2 or 3 weeks for the blood to clear out, and then you can hear again. So what we do now, like I was at all these conferences. I ended up getting what I think was this RSV cold or flu that's going around. And when I got back, when people have had colds or if people are new, we do very low, very, very low level sessions to make sure they can clear their ears. And so we've implemented that program maybe 10 years ago, where we do these low level sessions to determine if people can clear their ears before we do the higher level sessions. So we've been able to eliminate the issue with barotraumas, but it's the same thing that happens with people flying on airplanes with colds, same thing with hyperbaric chambers. So by
Right.
using these low level sessions, we can identify who they are and tell them, well, you have to stay at the low level today.
For some time. All right. Any clinics in Canada? I think we talked about it. The TELUS group has some clinics there,
Yeah,
right?
if you just Google TELUS, TELUS, and CVAC, CVAC, that will take you to their website where they talk about CVAC.
Right.
Also, the link on the PowerPoint presentation that goes to their site.
Right. I think there are no more questions. I'd like to conduct very quickly a little, let's say, I want to know how many of the people present here have ALS. Maybe if it's possible, you can raise your hands. I'd like to know, just for the record. I guess Ariela's sister, that's Wilson. Yeah. Anybody else with
I think
ALS?
Valentina
Valentina and also
and Margot, I think.
Mr.
Robert.
Robert Figueredo. Philip has ALS, but no diagnosis. No, just to know. I just wanted to know. Right. We will do, Valentina. Don't worry. It's okay.
Okay,
Smart.
there's a question on long-term.
Yes, I think Michael sent because Michael, his mother has ALS.
His mother has ALS, Michael.
I think
Yeah.
everybody here has something to do with ALS.
Yeah.
That's
There you go. Valentina is there. Thank you for being there. Thank you. Alan, you were saying something. I'm sorry.
Yeah, there's a question here about long-term use. I've been using it for 1 to 2 hours a day for the last 21 years. If you use CVAC for more than an hour a day, like athletes, okay, when you use CVAC, it's it's flushing a lot of water through your body, so you have to replenish the water. So like flying on an airplane, you can get dehydrated. So we tell everybody when they use it, they should drink water while they're using it. Well, if you use it for more than an hour a day, you're also going to be flushing out electrolytes. So like athletes that drink a lot of water for hydration, if you're going to use it for more than an hour a day, you have to replenish those electrolytes. And we use the same kind of electrolytes that athletes use. I had a question about, do we have any in Canada? Yeah, we have 4 systems in Vancouver, and we have one in Haliburton, Canada. I think the one in Haliburton is an employee wellness program. You have to be an employee of the facility to be able to use it.
okay.
Right. So if anyone that has ALS or not, it doesn't matter. If you are not in our groups, either one of the groups we have for ALS, you may join us. Okay. And Tabitha just published the YouTube channel is Alternativas para ELA, right? You can go there. You can see lots of interviews. I think we can see already a couple of interviews we had with you already, Alan, in the
Yes.
a couple of months ago. Yes, and so many other interesting subjects that we touch upon regarding ALS and other pathologies.
So
Tabitha,
Margot is
where is?
asking where I'm going to post. I'm going to post this interview on Healing ALS WhatsApp group, Healing ALS Facebook group, and OSR, the group that we have, and other groups like Eat Meetings and Mercury Chelation, and every group from that I know.
Well,
I'm
Yes.
going to be
So
sharing
also
the
our
information everywhere I can, actually.
I should
also our
And
group for ALS in Spanish, Alternativas para él en español, also in our wonderful group there. And
Portuguese.
yeah, Alan, I interrupted you. Sorry, what were you saying?
Yeah, in regards to heavy metals, many of you may have heard of the name Tony Robbins. If
Right.
he has
Yes.
an extensive web page about our technology, he's purchased 2 of our systems. And when he goes to some of the new clinics that start up, and he tells the staff there that CVAC saved his life when he had mercury poisoning.
So
So
imagine this. So that means that if you are not a good excreter, we are talking about that in our ebook, and I'm going to take little time now to announce that we are publishing. I don't know if you say publishing, if you're going to just use it in the internet, but we are coming out with an ebook that Tabitha and I we have put together and that have been revised by David Kennedy, who used to be president of IAOMT. And we're talking about heavy metals. We're talking about heavy metals and what to do about them. How do you get toxified with heavy metals, which is so easy. I mean, I was after finishing that, I was like in panic already. Saying, my God, there are so many ways you can get contaminated. But if the CVAC, imagine, can do that, and Tony Robbins, he's a big guy, no? He's a big fellow. And I was watching a special, and he's producing right now. And I remember that you had told me about his case. So imagine what it can do to all the toxins in your body, you know, if it can excrete
It's not only about
mercury.
yeah, it's not only about heavy metals, right? Because heavy metals, it's, sometimes we need different approach, and CVAC can be like a really good ally. But we have pesticides and other toxins that we breathe every day, you know. And the lymphatic system, it's what the body uses literally, as I think I was explaining before, to flush it out. So if CVAC can improve that, you know, it's great. It's really, really, really great. I really think it's really good. Como digo, William, ahora, por Dios que no se me olvidó, no es aliado, como que complemento.
It's a good compliment. It's a good ally.
Complement.
A
It's
good
almost the same
compliment.
thing.
And
Sorry
the
about
body
that.
makes its own toxins.
Yes. A good compliment to things like we were saying, you know, we can, you know, the approach to that everybody wants for any ailment or pathology wants like the magic pill. I want the magic pill. I take this and tomorrow or after a couple of days, I'm going to feel better. I'm going to be okay. And unfortunately, that's what the pharma industry does all the time. They try to achieve that and get there, but there is not one approach to anything. I think it's a combination of things. Like Allen is saying himself, you know, you can use CVAC for 10 years, but you still need to do something for your joints. You still need to do something for these other abilities that your body needs to be able to handle. Anyway, if there is any other question, please now. I think we have had a wonderful session. Somebody commented when we were announcing this interview, Alan says, Allen Ruzkowiski is a wealth of knowledge, and that you are. Thank you very
Yes,
much
you are
for being.
indeed.
It
Yeah.
hasn't been easy, but fortunately, the pharmaceutical industry has been looking for drugs for all these things.
Yes.
I didn't mention when Larry Ellison did that research, he put it all in the public domain. So you can Google advanced glycation end products. There's a huge amount of studies that he has it out there. Now, the Google founders and Altos Labs with Bezos, what they're doing, they're keeping secret. But Larry Ellison informed the whole world. And then there are a lot of people that, are looking for cures for these diseases and things like that. So that stuff gets published. So I was very fortunate that a lot of what we needed to learn was out there. There is not as much information about exercise out there, but there are some really good exercise studies out there that helps a lot. And I think the other thing that's helped is these wearable monitors have really stimulated the research into sleep because it's just a miraculous what they've been able to do.
No, I think people also in the beginning they buy these gimmicks and devices to out of curiosity, you know, and then they find out that there's tons of information there that can actually help them to improve their quality of life, you know.
Right.
Like, okay, so how much REM time am I having during my sleep, you know? Is it, we had an interview some weeks ago with one of the interviews we have had with Dr. Lee Cowden, where he explains how Wi-Fi, how blue light from the telephone and whatnot, any kind of light will disturb the quality of your sleep and how deep you can go into and how much time you spend in those states where the body regenerates itself, where the body is healing, where the body is detoxifying. So when that doesn't happen, and if CVAC helps you to achieve that, and it's a big step because we are more and more in homes where nobody turns off their Wi-Fi. There is always a little light here and there. You can't get a real good night's sleep or a deep sleep, you know. So that's another great advantage, I think. It's not only what happens with the lymphatic system, but to be able to sleep well and sleep better, you know, the healing processes are stronger, right? So anyway, thank you very much. Alan, how to contact with you? Somebody asked there.
Well, if you just Google my name, yeah, I'm easy to find on LinkedIn.
Right. So there you go.
That's yeah, because I get thousands of emails a day. LinkedIn is a better way to do that, and I have an unusual last name. Well, it's not unusual in Poland, but in most of the world, it's unusual. So if you just Google my name and go to LinkedIn, I'm going to put my name here in the chat, and you'll find me on LinkedIn.
Excellent. Well,
Very much.
thank you. Thank you very much, Alan, again. Thank you for being with us. And I hope we can have another session very soon where you're going to be telling us, yes, you have one CVAC pod now in Tel Aviv, and you have a couple in Europe, right?
Latin
We're working.
America.
We want to have one here in Brazil, a couple of them, and one in Mexico. So we're working on that too. But yes, we need to keep spreading the word. So, guys, thank you very much, Alex. Thank you, everyone,
And
for.
I will ask for everybody who's participating if you guys are willing to try CVAC, or if you're going to any sessions, please share your results.
Yeah, let
Okay,
us
please
know.
share what you're feeling and how are your improvements or not, but please share. We need testimonials. Okay, we want to know better what's going on. As Alan said before, those clinics, they don't share informations about their patients, but we are trying to receive information from patients anyway. So if you guys can please share with us, okay? We are here to listen.
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
So thank you
Thank
again.
you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you,
Thanks,
everybody.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.